Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on our webinar today. We are so excited to have you here. Whether you've been to our last webinar where we teased this one or you're brand new to MyCase webinars, it's going to be a really fun one. But we want it to be interactive and we want to hear from you guys throughout the webinar. So as people are joining, I just want to know what the weather is like in your area today. Just, in the chat, make sure you send it to panelists and attendees on Zoom in the little to field, select panelists and attendees, and let us know where you are and what the weather is like. I personally am in Santa Barbara, and although that sounds really nice and tropical, it's actually really cold here. And my morning walks have been a little bit chilly. So let us know where you're from. Okay, Monica is in New Jersey. It's gray and drizzly. It's super cold for Jonathan. Jonathan, where are you from? You didn't say. Jeanette is in DC, balmy and rainy. Okay, so it's cold in a lot of places. I mean, it is, winter time-ish, so it makes sense. Make sure you change your to from panelists to panelists and attendees so everyone else can see your answers. And go ahead and repost if you just sent to panelists. Okay, Moore Park, Ventura County. Nice, Jonathan. I'm just a few miles up the road. Nice to see you. Jackson, Mississippi, warm, overcast, and raining. Oh my gosh, what a combination. Warm, overcast, and raining. It's like, it's wet. Wyoming, cold, windy, cloudy. That makes sense. LA, we got Florida, hot, humid. Benson, what is it like where you are? Benson's our panelist here. What's going on in Texas?
Well, hello from Fort Worth. And, it's in the low 70s today, which I suppose is fortunate for me because yesterday we found out our air conditioning unit has gone out and it's going to require a replacement. So
oh my gosh,
we're without AC for maybe a week. And I'm glad it's not in the 80s or higher as we're often used to here in Texas.
Oh my gosh. You're going to be able to get it fixed, in a week or so?
They're putting in a replacement order. So yes.
Oh my gosh. Whew.
Thank goodness for home warranties.
Yeah, and at least it's not like August or something,
Oh, exactly. If this had happened in the middle of the summer, we'd be at a hotel for sure.
Yeah. We have Myra from Texas, from Dallas, 70. You're close to Benson there. Frank from West Tennessee, 65 and overcast. From Milan, oh my gosh. Dark, foggy, wet, cold. Wyoming, Jackson, Wyoming. Cherie, thanks so much for chatting in. 6 inches of snow, but sun is just peeking through. That sounds wonderful. I have to admit, I've been listening to White Christmas, the Christmas music song. I know it's way too early for it, but I have been. And so I've been dreaming of a white Christmas. Sounds like you're going to get it, Cherie. So that's great. Thank you all for chatting in. Make sure again to switch your to button from panelists to panelists and attendees for those just joining so that everyone can see your question and we can make sure we get it answered. So we're going to get started. Thanks again for chatting in, and please continue to chat in your questions and comments so we can address them as we start the webinar. Purpose of our webinar is to help legal professionals address the operational hurdles that have come up this year. 2020 has, if you haven't heard, has been a little bit crazy, and for law firms, it's no different. So what we're going to do is have Benson here walk through some features in MyCase that'll help you overcome all those hurdles that you faced this year. Hopefully it should be really helpful. That's our goal, is to kind of show you what's available out there. Quickly, this webinar is sponsored by MyCase. MyCase is a practice management software that helps you, it helps small law firms predominantly work from anywhere, manage their entire practice. And Benson on the line with me uses MyCase to manage his practice there in Fort Worth. We'll get into a little bit more about him in a second. My name is Casey. I'm going to be hosting and kind of moderating today, but Benson's going to be doing most of the talking. I have worked at MyCase for over 5 years, and I absolutely love helping law firms just get more efficient and run better. This year has been no exception. In fact, it's been kind of thrilling to see how many law firms are adopting software and seeing the benefits of it, even though, it's a little bit of a hard push to kind of make that change. It's totally worth it. And I love hearing that from our customers. And I want to welcome Benson, our panelist. I hear some of you on the line are from Texas. Maybe you know Benson or have seen his face. He is the founder and managing partner of Varghese Somerset, which is one of the largest businesses in Fort Worth and the fastest growing, not law firms, but businesses in general. So we're so excited to have him here. A little bit more about him on the screen. But Benson, give us the rundown. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, good morning again. Well, it's still morning for me. I suppose we might have some folks that are already into the afternoon, but good morning for me. And I started the firm in 2014 and have been with MyCase ever since. I put a lot of thought into the platform I wanted to use to make things convenient for my clients. I think that was the number one goal. And I really like this idea of keeping everything centralized, of one stop for clients when they need information. But this year in particular, it's been immensely helpful to have a system that my staff can start using from home within a day's notice, and has really helped us to operate seamlessly despite the pandemic, the lockdown, and then the slow return back to work.
Great, thank you for that. And we'll be learning a lot more about Benson's firm as he shows us the features that we'll be talking about today. MyCase has been busy, just like all of you, building the features that law firms need to kind of survive and thrive this year. And Benson, who uses MyCase every day along with his firm, is going to be showing us how he uses those specific features. So as we do this, I want to emphasize that this is interactive. We want you to chat in, please. So please feel free to chat me directly if you don't want to chat in the general chat, or if you want everyone to see your question, go ahead and toggle to panelists and attendees on your chat and ask away, and we'll get you some answers, or we'll have Benson directly address them here if they're relevant to the broader group. So, keep your questions coming, keep them flowing in. So as I mentioned, we're going to talk through 5 features today. I'm going to turn the floor over to him. And first, we're going to talk about e-signature, which is, I hope everyone's slightly familiar with what this is, but it basically replaces a wet signature in the office. So you're able to send a document to a client or even co-counsel to have them sign, and then countersign as well, which in a lot of places is being adopted by federal and local courts as just as legitimate as wet signature, just because of the strains of this year. So I will turn it over to Benson, and we'll have him share his screen and show you how he uses this.
All right, so let me share my screen real quick. And as that's pulling up, I'll just kind of walk you through, first of all, how I use e-signature. It's one of the newer features in MyCase, and that is something I've loved about MyCase over the years, is the introduction of new features. And as soon as they sent out the survey saying, hey, would you guys be interested in e-signature, I was all over it, because as you guys can imagine, it just simplifies life so much. And of course, it's been especially helpful this year when lots of clients aren't even coming into the office before they hire us. So I usually operate from a case basis. So when someone calls me or I'm talking to them, I generally pull up their case within MyCase, because that's a centralized location for everything to do with their case. You can get to pretty much anything, any document in MyCase multiple ways. You can access e-signature multiple ways. And Casey, give me a thumbs up if my screen is showing.
Oh yeah, it looks great.
Okay, good. So you could get to documents and use your e-signature through this tab at the top where you can go into e-signature templates, but I'm going to show you primarily how I use it, because I think as an end user, this is most intuitive. But again, there are multiple ways to get to things. So we're going to use Casey as our client, and she's going through a home purchase, which, even though I'm a criminal defense attorney and know nothing about home purchases, I'm going to use this example to walk you through what we might expect. So I kind of, by almost second nature, I clicked over to the communications tab. But let me walk you through what you see. You'll see multiple tabs here at the top once you get into a case. And of course, I just clicked that from the homepage, but you could, let's say Casey calls you on the phone, you could just go in here, type her name, and then find the case that way. Once you've pulled up the case, you'll see all these main tabs, and each tab has, I'll call them sub-tabs, where you can access different things. So right now we're going to talk about a new feature, which is the ability to get documents signed through the e-signature process. And Casey and I are going to go through this live, and so you'll get to see what your client would receive, how easy it is for them to sign it, and how easy it is for you to then countersign a document. So let's just go through that. Let's say I have a client I want to send a document to, and that document really only requires a signature. So this is perfect for a standard form that you have that you need your client to sign so that you have it in your file, or perhaps one that you need them to sign and you're going to countersign as well. So I'm going to walk you through that. The way I would do this is just go to the add button. So right now we're within items and info, the sub tab of documents, and there's a blue button over here that says add an e-signature from template. And so you would potentially have a number of templates here in your actual practice. So you can create as many templates as you want. For this demo, we've got a payment agreement set up. You can see that it's set up for a client to sign it and then someone at your office to countersign. Pretty intuitive so far. Just hit save document. You will, I generally don't fill out these, but if you are a firm that uses tags to help you find similar documents, or if you wanted to add a description in this field right here, you could. When you create your template, you'll have the ability to kind of put in the default name. So payment agreement, but if you wanted to add that it was for Patterson, you can just change the name of the document. You don't have to, they can just keep it as payment agreement and then hit next. Again, very intuitive. You pull down the menu, or you can start typing if you have a large number of individuals associated with the case, which is what's going to pull up right here. So I'd like Casey to sign this document. It automatically pulls up her email address because that's previously been saved in MyCase. And I'm going to put myself down as the person at the firm who's going to countersign the document. So this will, once we create the document, it will let you use a drawn signature. So if you want to scribble with your finger, or if you want them to just type their name, both are available as options for them if you leave this box or radio button not pushed over. But if you wanted to force them to use their finger to sign for some reason, then you could force the signature field to do that. I'm just going to leave it as it is and hit preview and send. So I'll be able to confirm within this document, first of all, that it's exactly what I wanted it to be. And we're going to scroll down here to the bottom and make sure in blue I see that I've requested Casey to sign it, and that when I get it back, I'm going to countersign it. And you can have multiple fields, obviously, within the same document that you want signed or countersigned. And in this example document, we've got Casey signing it in 2 different places, and I'll be countersigning as well. But hopefully that was as intuitive to you as it seems to be to me. It really walks you through the process, and there's also a default message in here. So you can set that up at the time that you're creating your template. So you know that I'm asking Casey to sign this document at her earliest convenience, and then all I have to do is hit send now. And what I'll see before I turn it back over to Casey to kind of tell you what she's seeing on her end, I've got an orange button right here that says I've sent it to Casey. As I hover over her name, or the pending rather, it shows me who I sent it to and that it's pending. In a moment, you'll see how this gets updated. But Casey, tell us what you see.
Yeah, so I just got an email. You can see at the top there, 11:14 a.m. It came to me almost instantly as soon as Benson sent it. And you can see the payment agreement that Benson just sent right here. Again, this can be done on my mobile phone or on my desktop, but we just chose to show it on a phone. Here's what the signature looks like. So I can scribble there, type my name. There is a checkbox that says I am Casey Patterson. I consent to be legally bound by this e-signature. Now I'm making sure that this document is just a fake one. And then I am going to sign in both of those places and then send it back to Benson so that you can see what happens on his end. So give me 1 second, hit the buttons, sign the things. All right, so I just submitted it. And if you refresh Benson, you can see the next step.
Okay, so I just refreshed my screen and you see that the orange button here that said pending signature has now changed to a green button that's asking me to countersign the document. So all I have to do is hit sign now. Same thing, I can click there. Let's just say my scribble looks like that. I can agree that I've signed the document, do the same thing down here. Or as I said, you could just type in your name if you'd like.
And I want to quickly mention as you do that, Benson, Monica asked a question, can clients sign on their phones? Yes, they can. This is all accessible through email. So I just got an email that said your signature is requested on a document and was able to click through and sign that way. So thanks for that question, Monica.
So I'm just hitting submit and now you'll see we're still in the document sub-tab and I have a green light here that says it's been signed. So that quickly, the document's been signed. If I pull up that document now, I'll be able to see the signed document complete with our little scribbles, or as I said, you can type in your name if you'd like. And should the signature ever come into question, you've got the e-signature details added on as a final page to the document. So everything you need is right there. Pretty seamlessly, that document has been updated. So anytime you go back into the case under items and info documents, that document's right there, and you can see that it's been signed.
Perfect. And Jeanette, I see your question about counter signature, that a lot of the times you don't require a counter signature. You do not have to have a counter signature. You can customize the way that your templates are set up to have, several signers and one counter signer, no counter signers, etc. So thanks again for that question, Jeanette. All right. Any final thoughts on this one, Benson?
There is a way. So if a user wants to set up a form where they want an e-signature, but certain fields are going to be populated based on what you've entered into MyCase already. So you want a custom document with their name in it, you can do that. You would just set up a document from a template and then send it over for a signature. And in that case, you would use this little pen icon to send something over for a signature. So you can do it as we did it today, which is a standard form without customized fields other than the signature, or you can do it as a completely customized document that's run through the forms and you can send it over. It probably takes 30 additional seconds, but it's very similar.
Awesome. Thank you, Benson. I see there are more questions about e-signature, and we have someone on the back end who's going to answer those as they come up. But just to keep time going, we're going to move on to the next feature. Thank you all so much for chatting in your questions. Please keep them coming. Our next feature that we're going to showcase is called intake forms. So I'm sure everyone is familiar with what an intake form is. This is going to be a virtual intake form where clients can fill it out either on their phone. I'll show you how that looks, or on their desktop. And this just kind of keeps first of all, keeps you virtual. So you don't have to have clients coming into the office physically to sign forms. And second of all, it's just convenient. It's convenient for you, it's convenient for the client, and it also allows you to have the most up-to-date information on clients. So Benson, why don't you show us how you use intake forms?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, because I operate mostly out of cases, I'm going to stay within this case. So we were in Casey Patterson home purchase. Kind of the default tab would be info when you first pull up the case. And right there under that first main tab, you have this sub tab that says intake forms. And again, a form is something you can create to get the information that you want. And as Casey mentioned, it's going to sync automatically with the information that's stored within MyCase. So a lot of times if you have a client who needs to update their contact information, or the contact information has changed since they were first put into the system, this intake form is great because it's going to update with the most recent information. Again, going over to the far right, you've got a blue button that kind of tells you, calls your attention to the fact that you can add a new form by just hitting that intake form button. And then you, once again, can choose the intake form that you want to use. So we're here going to use the home purchase intake form. Again, I'm going to use Casey for our example. And once again, the subject line and the message is already pre-populated based on how we set up the intake form. So pretty similar to sending out the document for an e-signature. All I have to do is hit save and send. And all of a sudden I see that I have a sent form. And Casey, you can show us what that looks like on your end.
Yes. All right, so let me go back to my email. By the way, I have an email that says my completed signed document from the last feature. Okay, so I have an intake form from Benson PLLC. Here is my intake form. It's my home purchase intake form. It has really easy fill fields. Sorry for the resolution there. There we go. A little bit more focused, but I can update all my information. Yeah, Benson's showing what it looks like on his end. And let me fill all this out.
Yeah, Casey. So while you're doing that, these are so when you're setting up the form, you'll have a whole list of fields and even custom fields that you can put in. So MyCase by default gives you very commonly used fields. But for instance, in my criminal practice, there are certain pieces of information that we need that might not be needed across the board. And so I can just go in and create a custom field, save that form, and let's see, Casey, have you submitted anything yet?
Yes, I did submit it.
Perfect. So I'm going to refresh my screen here and look at that. We have your form. It's been submitted. And this information has been updated in MyCase. So if you had changed, for instance, your email address, then it would have actually updated your contact as well, which is a really nice feature that all of this is syncing. So you can get to that document at any point, that intake form at any point, but you can also see the fields as they've been updated.
Okay, great. Appreciate you, Jonathan. Jonathan said, it looks like I had a DUI case. I did not, but I appreciate the concern. I understand the intake form was for a DUI. Very observant there. Okay, great. So again, this allows you to quickly update anything in the case. I actually talked to another customer who said, this is helpful in terms of like who's responsible for things, because if a name is spelt wrong or something along those lines, it's actually the client who put it in and it's not you. So if you have some kind of data integrity issues, this will be really helpful because the client will be responsible for putting in the correct information. I'm sure that's a concern, especially for like these high volume practice areas.
Yeah, I could see that coming in very useful for titles, or sometimes where we have a third party calling in to hire us to represent someone. And if for whatever reason, we don't know that their title is doctor or something other than the standard, titles, it's always good to give them that option. That way, immediately that maybe we should be addressing this person a certain way.
Exactly. Okay, great. So let's move on to two-way text messaging. This one is one of my faves. And show us how you would do that, Benson.
Okay, sorry, I jumped ahead a little bit here, but let's go back to our main screen just to kind of give everyone some bearing. Going into the case, there's a communication main tab. So I would click over to the communications tab. And I'll just, before I get into text messages, say, I absolutely love that everything related to my client is in one place. So I don't have to go digging through to find emails. If you're sending them messages through the portal, just general messages, not text messages, they're secure and they remain in the cloud, which is really important for me as a criminal defense practitioner, where I see phone dumps and not my clients, but other folks who have privileged information that gets in front of prosecutors that hopefully they'll do the right thing and ignore those privileged communications, but it's much nicer to have it to where things reside on the cloud. So within that communication main tab, you see all these sub tabs. And so if we go into text messages, obviously we've got a number for Casey in here that we got either at the time of intake or through one of those intake forms. So we've got a phone number for her. We did some test messages, but let me just show you from scratch how you would send a message. So you hit the compose button. Up here, you can find the person that you want to send a message to. So I'm just going to pull down the menu, click on Casey, and I'll just send out a message that would be common for me, perhaps. Courtroom is on the 4th floor. So that would be a perfect instance for me to use a text message. I'm not sending anything that's privileged or that I might not want other people to see. It's timely. I think they would appreciate knowing where to go within the courthouse once they got there. So this text feature, it's not what I'm going to use primarily for all my communication, but it's a great way to get that instantaneous response.
Yep, and let me pull up my phone here. Oh, you can see my cat. Courtroom is on the 4th floor, it says. And I can just text Benson back. Thank you very much. And send. Should populate without you even having to refresh.
Yeah, my hands are up. I didn't do anything on my screen. It came up just like your text messages would come up on your phone. I didn't have to refresh or do anything different to the page, which is, again, a great feature so that the client's gotten the message immediately.
Yes, and I've heard other benefits around this, Benson, and let me know if this resonates with you, but this feature means that you don't have to give away your private cell phone number. It also allows you to kind of mute your text messages to some degree so that your actual text message inbox where you do your personal and family and other texting isn't intermingled with your client texts.
Yeah, within the firm, I've got attorneys with a wide variety of I guess technical backgrounds, and when we first started the firm and I brought on some very seasoned attorneys, they had a temptation to use their personal cell phones, and the problem isn't really the communication aspect. It's if you need to go find a message in the future, now you're digging through your personal cell phone trying to find those messages. Whereas if you're sending a message through MyCase, it's always going to remain under that communications tab. Everything you've ever sent them, whether it's in the email you synced up, a secure message you sent them, or a text message, all in one place. And when you're looking for something, how convenient that ends up being that it's all in one place. But yeah, not giving out your personal cell phone number is wonderful. I imagine a lot of people don't want to do that and maybe get a call in the middle of the night or, when you're trying to take care of your kids. So that is, yeah, it's just been a great add-on for us once you guys offer this feature.
That's awesome. And I know that you use it to talk to leads as well as clients. So that can be a good kind of demand gen tool as well. Just some questions from the audience really quick. Frank said, is there any way to capture time when you send a text message? And I just wanted to point out, Benson, you already know where I'm going, the send plus time button. Could you show us that?
So now if I want to reply and put in my point one, instead of hitting send, I hit send plus that little icon that looks like a clock, and I can put in my point one, and the description's already in there. It said I sent a text message to Casey, and these are not my usual fields, but there's probably one in here that says something like text message. Let's just
there you
text
go.
right there. So there you go. The point one's already in there. And if I go back to my time and billing, time entries, right there. So I didn't even have to, come back to my invoice or billing side, put in a separate time entry. You can do that from all your communication fields. So where I end up using or doing a lot of communication with my clients is through this secure message feature, and there or within the text, as you just saw, you can hit just, instead of send right next to it to the left, send plus enter your time, and it's a breeze. And we've gotten much better at timekeeping since that was implemented.
Love it. And really quickly, some folks have asked about the text feature from the MyCase app. And yes, this is newly released in the app, so it's rolling out as we speak. So check the MyCase app. And if you have more in-depth questions, I know that there's a ton of questions coming through, so we're trying to get them as fast as we can. We will have an option at the end of this to get a more personalized look at MyCase if you're not already a customer and need some, just have some curiosities about the product. And if you are a customer, we'll talk to you about that too, just to make sure you know exactly what features are available. So yeah, keep the questions coming in, and we'll also do a little bit longer addressing them at the end. Okay, great. Any more on this, Benson? Any more thoughts? We can move on to the next one.
I'm just going to build on something you mentioned
Yeah.
very quickly, and that is, because of the practitioners who are listening to this, obviously you want to convert as many leads as possible. As Casey said, I love, and this is primarily where I use text messages. Let's say I had a lead come in. So this is under leads. This is what a lead form or populated section looks like. Let's say I've contacted them once by phone. I'll move it over to this tab, and at my firm, if they're about to move over to the second contact, we're going to go in there. And so again, within the actual lead, I can go to communications. I can hit text message. So for Jane Doe, I would have gotten a phone number, and I can just send a text message very quickly, because if you're trying to get back to a lead, if you have left a message, I've found, instead of emailing, sending that text message just to say, hey, we're available right now if you want to talk, or do you still need representation, gets a lot more phone calls back rather than them perhaps getting off work, and by that time you've left the office. So using text and leads is also fantastic.
That's great. Thank you. Rick chatted in and said, what do clients see as the originating number? It is a randomized number populated by MyCase. It can be altered if you would like to. So just that's the answer, Rick. Thanks so much for chatting that in. And it does remain constant throughout the time that you're texting your client and for your firm in general. So that same number will always be associated with the text messages that you're sending. And if your client just saves it in their phone as, law firm or Varghese PLLC, they'll have that consistency and know exactly who they're texting. Thanks again, Benson, for the look into leads. I know that leads are something we are super stoked about in MyCase, and just tracking all of that and kind of having a marketing plan, and even a more custom marketing plan like a text message is just awesome. I don't know. I'm sure everyone got some text messages around election season, and they're super effective. It makes you feel like you have a connection with whoever you're talking to. So this is no different. All right, let's go to the next one. Another text message feature, text message reminders, and we're going to do it for invoices, although there are other ways you can use text message reminders. So Benson, take it away.
Okay, so as you see, I'm going back to just the main case screen. We're going to switch over this time to time and billing, pull up our invoices, and let's see here. Let's pull up the more recent one and get this pulled out of the way. So this is what an invoice looks like once you've pulled it up, and look at that. Casey's overdue on her payments. And so
I'm sorry.
Rather than picking up the phone and harassing her about it, a gentle way to remind her that there's a balance outstanding that's past due is just to send her a text message, and we'll see exactly what she gets. It's not a text message from our communications tab that you have to type out. This will actually send her the invoice and give her the opportunity to pull up the invoice and pay for it. So all you do within the invoice is go up here to the fourth icon, which is the little phone. You say send link. Once again, it's pre-populated. Love that they don't have to log in to actually click on this link. And the billing contact we'd already set up as Casey. So all of this is really pre-populated. You're literally just hitting one button, and you can hit send, and let's see what Casey gets.
All right. Got a very friendly reminder to pay online, no login required. My invoice is ready for payment, and it pulls up my little payment page there. So you can see, I'll just whip out my credit card, pay my bill, and then it'll actually come back to Benson and reconcile with this invoice. We're not going to show that part just because I would have to put in my actual credit card, and I'm not sure I'm ready to do that. You know, I love you, Benson, but gotta actually hire you first.
Okay.
But yeah, so that is what the client would see.
Perfect. I'll make a note in the case that you haven't paid yet. How about that?
Delinquent person, right. DUI overdue.
That's right.
Okay, awesome. So again, this is, you can either do this on a one-time basis that Benson just showed, or you can do an automated reminder where you actually set up a schedule for text messages to go through. So thanks so much for that one, Benson.
Absolutely.
Okay, the last one, and then we will answer some questions and do a little bit of wrap up, is payment plans. So this is for firms who want to offer their clients the flexibility of paying an invoice in installments. During this year, it's a compassionate way to offer your clients the ability to pay kind of spread out over time, but you're not sacrificing your business needs either. So let's see what a payment plan looks like.
Okay, so going right back into the case, and we're going to jump into time and billing, go to our invoices, and let's just pick this one because it has a easier to work with number. I can actually edit the invoice if I'd like. So let's say in addition to my flat fee of $300, we've decided to add
a late fee.
Something. Well, then now I've got to decrease my number. But let's say we had a $200 fee that we were going to add on, and that it would be an exorbitant late fee. All I do now is come down and say, look, you need more time to pay. We've discussed this. Click the button under this payment plan option, say it's enabled. And as a starting point, it tells me the outstanding balance on this invoice is $500. So you'll know what the amount is. Let's just say you've been doing hourly billing and it was some weird number here that you couldn't remember. It's going to be right there, and you get to set up the payment plan essentially however you'd like for it to be. At our firm, we often do half down. So I would just say I want my first payment to be $250. And Casey, how long do you think you need to pay off the remaining $250 balance?
I would like 3 months, please.
All right, so let's say we're going to do 3, and well, that's actually going to be 3 additional months. So including my first month of $250, let's see if I did that right. Yeah. Oh, no, I've got to say not weekly, but monthly. So what it's done there is Casey told me she wanted 3 additional months to pay the balance off. I wanted to start with the $250 as my first month's payment. So that's the first month. Total of 4 payments are going to be made, and we want it done on a monthly basis. And let's try that again. Well, if I hadn't messed this up by putting in the wrong number to begin with, we would actually have it show up as, which you can always do manually. Let's make these both the same number. Sorry that my screen is jumping around a little bit.
That's fine.
So what it would have done if I set this up correctly to begin with is given us 4 equal monthly payments. Apply. It wouldn't do that if I'd done it correctly. But essentially, it's created a payment plan now. Let's just pretend those numbers were the same. All I have to do is hit Save Invoice, and we could share it through the portal. We could send it by a text message, and you do have the option when you're creating the invoice to decide if your money is going to go into the trust account or into your operating account, depending on how you want that set up.
Yeah, could you go back into the edit and just show that really quickly? So if you have if you have online payments set up in MyCase, Benson showing you you can decide if you want a payment to go into the operating or trust account. And then actually once you select that, so say you selected operating, if you scroll down, you can hit this little toggle button that says automatic payments. down near the payment plan. And it will actually, along the payment plan's lines, it will auto charge a card. So you can just input a card here. If I had my credit card set up, it would already be there. And that way the client actually doesn't have to think about it. They'll get a text message reminder, an email reminder that says, hey, your invoice is going to be charged, is going to be paid tomorrow for the amount of $62.50, just so you know. And then both you and the client don't really have to worry about it. It's just kind of set up. And I think that's a really exciting feature that we have.
Yeah, the set it and forget it is fantastic.
Yep. Awesome. Okay, cool. Any questions, please keep them coming in. And Benson, would you mind flipping back to me really quick so we can do a quick recap for those who maybe joined halfway?
Sure. I suppose in the payment plans, it's worth showing before I switch over that once you've set up those payment plans, you can see what your firm is expected to bring in, particularly if you've set up the automatic payments, really unless their card is declined or they decide they don't want to be on automatic payments. You have a very good idea of what's coming into the firm. So it even breaks it down by what's set up on auto pay and what you're going to be doing manually, but you can get a really good forecast of what's coming in the door in the next several months very quickly by just going over to, now we're in the main billing tab under payment plans as opposed to being within one case, but now you get the general overview of where you stand. So Casey, I'm going to switch back over to you.
Yes, I love this page. Thank you for showing it.
Sure.
Quickly in the chat, we've got a couple of questions and comments. Mr. Hollington, Mr. J. Edward Hollington asked, does MyCase integrate with LawPay? So MyCase actually has its own built-in payments platform, and it's all a part of the software. So as you get set up with MyCase, you can get set up with online payments. And that way there's like a seamless integration between the two. And you also have just one login and one place to call if you should run into an issue with either the software or a payment. It's one number. And Jonathan Donner says, he has a client that he doesn't want to give his cell phone number to, and the ability to text is a great feature. Also having text message in the system is great as more people are texting. So I assume that he's talking about, firm members collaborating on a text chat, or just more people are texting in general. Texting is like adopted, almost worldwide. So great. Thank you so much for those comments. And let me quickly wrap up with a summary. So today we covered e-signature, which replaces wet signature, allows you to stay safe, and allows you to also help clients just sign documents easier. Intake forms, which allows you to get the most up-to-date information on a case. Two-way text messaging, which, as we talked about, is super convenient for your clients and for your firm to communicate all in one place and in the way that's most convenient for them. Text message reminders for invoice. So this can be done for invoices. This can be done for calendar events. So if you have a court date coming up, you're able to text a client about that. And then payment plans, which is a really compassionate way to help clients pay over time instead of having one lump sum, and also allows you to keep your business goals in mind and keep your business running. So if you are interested in a personalized demo of MyCase, if you're not a MyCase user today, as we exit this webinar, we will be asking you if you want a demo. Please flag and say, hey, I want one. I have more questions about this. We're happy to give you a call and oblige. Just quickly, 96% of customers, Benson included, would recommend MyCase to a friend or colleague, which is great. 83% say that MyCase helps improve their client experience. And you can probably see why, as Benson mentioned, he adopted MyCase primarily to make sure his clients were being served in the best way possible. And these new features are all about client interaction and client convenience as well. And we just want to say thank you so much to Benson. As you wrap up, Benson, any final thoughts or words to the audience about MyCase?
We've barely scratched the surface of that. First off, you're welcome. I'm pleased to be a part of this. And, just so folks know, this is something I do because I'm pleased with the product and for no other reason. There are so many features that will make your life easier. The fact that it's cloud-based allows you to be potentially in a non-pandemic world on a beach responding to client messages, or at home. It's, as I said, been really a useful tool, so that even though, you know, our office at times was on a skeleton crew, our clients never felt that responses were any different from our firm. And that's been just tremendous this year for us to be able to do that. So as I said, we've just scratched the surface. I could talk about MyCase all day and the things that we do with it. It's very customizable, I suppose, is the other thing I'll point out. We have added a lot of custom fields and just tweaked it so that it works for our practice. And so that's a great part about feature of MyCase, rather.
That's awesome. Thanks so much. Okay, great. And for those on the line, I see there are more questions coming through. We're going to go ahead and end the webinar. Please say that you want a demo or a personalized kind of outreach if you have more questions, and we'll continue to kind of answer our questions. Oh, Jonathan says, thanks, Benson, excellent job. Teresa says, thank you. Dante says, thank you. Everyone is saying thank you. Love it. We're so excited that you guys are all here. Thanks, Monica. Thanks, Sarah. And until next time, we will talk to you all later.
Thank you, Casey.
Thank you so much, Benson. Bye, everyone. Bye.